Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad, or maybe good morning or evening, depending where you're joining us from. You are looking at a live view of an Ariane 6 full-scale rocket out at the French Guiana test site, where ESA and the Ariane group are preparing to conduct a hot fire test of the core stage of the first Ariane 6 rocket. This test will include the ignition of the core stage Vulcain 2.1 engine, followed by 470 seconds of stabilized operation, covering the entire core stage flight phase as as it would function on a launch into space. This is a huge milestone in the development of Ariane 6. They were not originally going to broadcast this test, but we are super excited that they did change their mind and do so. We reached out and talked with them about it, and I know some others that did as well. So we wanted to say first thank you to the ESA and Ariane Group for making today's broadcast available. You can see that countdown top right corner of your screen, T-minus 11 minutes, 32 seconds and counting till ignition. We're expecting them to begin some sort of live commentary here in the next minute or so, and of course we will listen into that as they do begin. But this is a live view from the French Guiana of the Ariane 6 out at the pad, ready for today's hot fire test. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you joining us here. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us as we count down now just under 11 minutes until the hot fire test of the core stage of Ariane 6. This 8-minute engine fire trial will reenact how Ariane 6's core stage will fire during a normal flight into space. The trial, conducted with a test model of the launch pad, is at the European spaceport, and it will be the longest full-stack run yet of the Ariane 6's lower liquid propulsion module, which is equipped with a Vulcain 2.1 engine. The Vulcain 2.1 engine will burn through almost 150 tons of propellant supplied by the Ariane 6 cold stage tanks, which hold liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen that are supercooled to temperatures below 260 degrees Celsius. The Vulcain 2.1 engine is an evolution of the Vulcain 2 engine that made the Ariane 5 Europe's most successful launch system ever, and really one of the most successful launch systems in the world ever. The upgraded version has been simplified, and it's a cheaper design and features some new technology in the engine nozzle, while the ignition system has been moved from the engine to the launch pad to make the core stage perform better and actually cost less. If you're just joining us, though, welcome. You're looking at a live view of the test stand out in the French Guiana with an Ariane 6 vehicle out on the pad. The core stage is being prepared for ignition. T-minus 9 minutes, 33 seconds and counting. We are waiting for them to begin their live commentary coverage, and once they do so, we will, of course, listen in to that final bit of the count. Today's event's supposed to last about 30 minutes in total. The test itself for 170 seconds, but we have that countdown, of course, leading up to flight as well. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage the like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. If you have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. T-minus 9 minutes on the clock. I do want to take a moment and say happy Thanksgiving to all of our U.S. viewers. I know it's the holiday today, and we are incredibly thankful. TLP is a Canadian company, but I've grown up for years in the States, so celebrate both, and just want to again say thank you to you, everyone in the States, but also everyone watching around the world. We only get to do this because of your guys' generous support in watching, in liking, in sharing, and even in donating and becoming members and getting merch. We only get to do this because of all of your generous support. So thank you for letting me live my dream and letting our crew get to do some incredible things as well, many of them living their dream as well. David says, a big step for Ariane 6. It is. It's going to be a long gap between Ariane 5 and 6, but it's super exciting to finally see Ariane 6 out at the pad as they prepare for today's hot fire test. Now we are expecting... that countdown's probably to when they are going to begin their coverage, not ignition. Now looking at what they are saying here. They were saying this is only a 30-minute broadcast, so the test is going to happen they're probably within just a few minutes of that countdown clock as well. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. Tag us at the Launchpad. We'll work on answering those live. Denise says, thank you, Zach. Thank you full for the Launchpad. We appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving, King Boo. Gigi Birdie says, happy Thanksgiving to all the U.S. viewers. Enjoy the holiday. Jessica Gobble Gobble. Yeah, who's having turkey and who's having something else today? Ewan, happy Thanksgiving. Stratoblaster, happy Thursday. Great to see you all here. And to bear with my voice, it's still not 100% perfect, but we're getting there. And I saw a question. Chelsea, Zach, why don't we see you? Well, you would have seen me if I did my time changes right. I thought I had another hour. And then my alarm went off, and it told me I had 15 minutes. So that is why I'm not on camera, because this is a rapidly deployed live broadcast. That is why. And the studio's not all lit up and everything yet. So next one we'll see. And I'm not important. This is Ariane 6 test. That's what's important. David, it's always cool when Zach comments on your comment. Now, what happens if I comment on your comment about me commenting on your comment? We might just launch a rocket. I don't know. We'll have to see. Jessica is deep frying a turkey. Please be careful. Ooh, Paul's having French lamb rack. Ooh, that sounds good. King Boo saying the test will happen at 3 p.m. Okay, perfect. So we've got about 26 minutes. So you're going to enjoy your Thanksgiving with TLP here for a little bit. It seems like these companies like to do these events on holidays, right? We had the launch of James Webb on Christmas Eve. We're going to have Vulcan this year on Christmas Eve. Ariane 6 is on Thanksgiving. Everyone just loves to do things on the holidays. I will make a quick note. If you were looking at the shop, you know, there might be Black Friday sales that roll out over the course of the afternoon and evening for all of tomorrow. So keep your eye out. Might be a good time to check out the shop. Just saying. Might be some new products dropping and discounts on even our new merch. I mean, it's pretty good. Make sure you defrost the turkey before. Yes, very much so. I do not want your turkey to rud, Jessica. Please defrost your turkey all the way. Uncle Yukon, I like to sleep on holidays. Well, I would too if they don't launch rockets on them. Boone, oh my god, Ariane 6 is ugly. It is an interesting looking rocket. We got a little bit of time here. Why don't we do a poll? What do you think about the look of Ariane 6? We'll say it's most beautiful rocket ever. You know, you gotta give options. We'll do good looking, it's okay, and ugly. Let us know in the poll. Let's see. This is scientific research. What do you think about the look of Ariane 6? Most beautiful rocket ever, good looking, it's okay, ugly. Let us know in the poll. Boone says, USS Thanksgiving. In France, we have... Okay, I come from a country that French is the second language. I'm going to butcher this. Les Beaujolais Nouveau? Sorry, I really butchered that. Mike, did I just open a beer? No. It's a unnamed soda. When you try not to sponsor a company and you say it anyways. It did sound like one though, didn't it? I thought I did it far enough away from the mic. Sorry about that. Steve, turkey football and a hot fire test. What could be better? It sounds like a pretty good day. Who's playing today? Jessica, I got this, you guys, I promise. Well, Jessica, you might have to put some pictures in the Discord so we can see this beautiful deep-fried turkey. 69 votes, that's a good place. 20% say most beautiful rocket ever. 34% say good looking. 43% say it's okay, and 4% of you think it's ugly. Interesting. Keep letting us know in the chat what you think of Ariane 6. It does look like a kind of a missile. It does. But I mean, a lot of rockets do. I mean, Starship just looks like a really massive ICBM. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view from the French Guiana, where the ESA is preparing to conduct a hot fire test of the Ariane 6 rocket. This is a launch rehearsal with an 8-minute core stage firing that they are performing. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. We'll work on answering those live. Bonet, finally, has the second Starship reached space or not? It did cross the Kármán line, but it did not make it to orbit. Gavin, pet, what? I don't know. You have to use your imagination. Aravale, what is the first scheduled payload on Ariane 6? Ooh, let me double check if we have... I know there's a number of payloads that are already designated. Let me see. The first one, which will be... So, see, Ariane 6 is really far behind. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 launches for Ariane 6 scheduled for no earlier than 2024. And then there are only 2 in 2025. There are 5 in 2026, 2 in 2027, 1 in 2028, 2 in 2029, 1 in 2035, and then there's 2 that we don't know. So there's a lot of options for it. But for the first one, they are targeting no earlier than April 2024. And it would be a multi-ride share. So it would have payloads from Ariane Group, Barcelona Tech, NASA, TUC, the Technical University of Koslik, that's the second largest university in Slovakia, the University of Lisbon, and PTS in TU Berlin. Let's listen in.
Minute stream live from Europe Spaceport in French Guiana. In about 20 minutes, we will be lighting this mighty Ariane 6 main stage as part of the full Ariane 6 core stage. It will burn for about 8 minutes, reaching temperatures of thousands of degrees Celsius and burning through about 125 tons of liquid oxygen and 25 tons of liquid hydrogen in just 8 minutes. In a real launch, 8 minutes is the time that will take for Ariane 6 to leave Earth and reach space. This is a very exciting moment. This is among the final qualification test of Europe's newest rockets. Welcome to the Ariane 6 Hot Fire live stream. It's 4:41 here in the afternoon here in Kourou. And my colleagues from CNES and Ariane Group are very busy getting the Ariane 6 rocket ready on the launch pad for the today's test. I'm ESA Technical Manager for Europe Spaceport in Kourou, in French Guiana. Usually I will be in Jupiter control room for real launches and launch rehearsals, but launches wouldn't be possible without testing the main stage and the launch pad that gets us to space, like we are doing today. I'm very happy to share this next half hour with you and explain what's happening during this exciting combined test hot firing, or CTHF as we call it. It's a combined test because we are testing the infrastructure, the launch pad, the complete core stage Ariane 6 and more. It's hot firing because as part of this complete test of the main stage, we will be firing up the Vulcan 2.1 engine that will reach temperatures of up to 3000 degrees Celsius. As we finalize getting ready, let me tell about some key moments to look forward to before the ignition. But don't blink, things will happen very fast. At 5 minutes before ignition, the automated sequence begins. The test can still be stopped and delayed at this point. 13 seconds before ignition is the point of no return. At the moment of ignition, sparks will ignite the liquid oxygen and the liquid hydrogen. For 4 seconds, to swirl in a whirlwind of gases. After this 4 seconds, the whirlwind stabilizes, and then we will have 8 minutes of constant firing. With all that to look forward to, let's get back to the countdown. It's 16 minutes 28 from the ignition, and it's time to take a look again at our rockets and this impressive launch pad. The next event in the test is the pré-synchro général, which in France means everything is ready to go, and it starts 15 minutes before ignition. At this point, all systems confirm that they are ready for the synchronized sequence that will lead to ignition and for a real chronology to a liftoff. This includes end-to-end overall control of everything that is part of Ariane 6, but also ground equipment, launch zone, weather forecast, etc. To get to this point, teams have been working over the last 24 hours in shift to flush the pipelines, the tanks, and started cooling down and filling them with liquid oxygen and hydrogen propellant 5 hours ago.
I'm just going to cut in here. If you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. T-minus 15 minutes, 17 seconds and counting till ignition of the Ariane 6 core stage. You're looking at live views inside the the fishbowl, the control room. I want to make a quick note here. On the bottom left corner of the big screen that was just there, there is a map of a trajectory of the Ariane 6 vehicle. This rocket is not launching today. This is a test on the ground of just the core stage. So, if we see it start tracking on that trajectory, we have a bigger problem. But today we're just igniting the core stage, 14 minutes, 45 seconds, and counting until launch. All green, though, across the board. An incredible view of that stage, that first stage's engine. And I did see one comment, someone saying poor quality by ESA. We've actually talked with ESA directly on this, and I'm not going to dive too much into what we've talked about with them. But there is actually quite limited bandwidth in the French Guiana for internet. So that is why they have to be very careful on what they pick to what they send. And, you know, it's better to send 720 and 1080p feeds and have many feeds than send, you know, 1 or 2 4K feeds type of thing. So we're just lucky that we're seeing this at all because they weren't going to. T-minus 14 minutes and counting till ignition of the core stage. Jamming 247, yeah, full 8-minute firing. This is going to be an exact match of what we saw them do with other rockets, testing that full proof of concept that the engines would full fire. We saw a core stage test for SLS for Artemis 1. We've seen it for other vehicles as well. We haven't seen it for Starship, other than when it's actually flown. But many other vehicles go through these types of tests, and we're excited to see Ariane 6 going for that test here today on that beautiful pad with the very dramatic flame trench that it's going to have some fire flying through it once again, first time in quite a while since the retirement of Ariane 5. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll continue to listen into the control nets as we go through the count, T minus 13 minutes and counting, till ignition of that core stage engine. Johnny, is the graph really a time height graph or is it time engine power graph? That's an interesting question. Engine power should stabilize. It shouldn't increase the entire time of flight. So I don't think that it would be that. But that's an interesting concept. Catching up on the chat. If you guys have questions, keep sending those in the chat. If you haven't yet, take a moment, gauge that like button. Looking back at the poll, what do you think of the look at Ariane 6? You've now had some really good looks around it from some different views. 17%, most beautiful rocket ever. 42% say it's good looking. 35% say it's okay. And 5% think it's ugly. There's a live look back in the fishbowl, now under 12 minutes and counting till ignition. Top left corner of that screen you can see is all green, which is a really great sign that things are continuing well in the count. They are targeting a ignition time of 8 o'clock local time. Current time 7:48 and 21 seconds. Listening back into mission control.
New attempt. If you are just joining us, we are broadcasting live from Europe Spaceport, French Guiana, where the Ariane 6 test model is ready for an important test of its complete main stage. In 10 minutes 44, we expect to see the Vulcain 2.1 engine ignite and fire for about 8 minutes. And we have just had confirmed that the Director of Operation and the Launch Campaign Operation Manager have met and confirmed we are go for the ignition of the engine. The next milestone is the start of the synchronized sequence and H minus 5 minutes. From that minus 5 minutes mark, the entire checklist process will totally automatic, carried out by ground computers. Here you can see the nozzle of the Vulcain 2.1 engine under the Ariane 6 core stage that is set to ignite just under 7 seconds before the H0. Just igniting this monster in itself is a complicated feat of engineering. When we start to pump the liquid oxygen and hydrogen through the combustion chamber, they will expand and be forced out of the nozzle in a whirlwind of gases mixed to the perfect ratio. This mixture of gases will swirl in all directions. After 4 seconds, we will see stabilization of the whirlwind and in the nozzle, and from then on, we will have a full throttle for 8 minutes. Ariane 6 is an European rocket and a collaboration in a true European style. Today we have many groups of people working on this test, Ariane Group, ESA, and CNES, and 15 companies. ESA's role in the development of Ariane 6 is head of the program. The agency managed that complex program and budget from the member state that contribute to the family of launchers, as well as being in charge of the overall launch system. The 13 participating states in the Ariane 6 program are Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, France, Germany, Italy, Ireland, the Netherlands, Norway, Romania, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland.
And if you're just joining us, welcome. You're looking at a live view of ELA 4 in the French Guiana, where Ariane Group and ESA are preparing to hot fire test the core stage. We're now under 8 minutes and counting till ignition of the 472nd test. Saw some interesting questions in the chat. You can keep sending those by tagging us at the launch pad. Ben sent in a question. NASA won't test fire SLS out of the concerns of the SRBs accidentally starting. Are these SRBs fueled? So we have seen before with Ariane Group, ESA, Ariane Space, all of them, they can put like fake SRBs on or a fake fairing or things like that. So I don't have confirmation on this if those are not fueled SRBs or not. It also depends on the type of vehicle and how the flame trench works and everything for that. There's a lot of things that would have to go severely wrong for SLS to ignite its SRBs, but for a long duration burn like this, it is a really good point to make. I'll see if I can get an answer. Now under 7 minutes and counting till ignition. Excuse me. Hey Joe Dog, good to see you. If you're just joining us, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American viewers. 6 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. The green board is a great sign that we are continuing towards the hot fire test of Ariane 6. This will be the first ever full-length burn of these engines out on the pad, simulating a full flight for the core stage. There's a view inside the beautiful fishbowl. It's been a while since we've seen it, since the last Ariane 5, a number of months, but it's great to see back inside the fishbowl in the French Guiana. John Anderson, thanks, Zach. I was hoping you'd pick up this test. We wanted to. We reached out to ESA, basically begged them to give a broadcast of it, so we were really appreciative that they did. Note, Timothy, they do not use catch arms. No one uses catch arms except SpaceX. T-minus 5 minutes, 55 seconds and counting till ignition. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream. And yes, this is a static fire test or a hot fire test of the core stage. So if it lifts off, this is not a good thing. It'd be cool, but it would not be a good thing. So we're not leaving the ground today, just a hot fire test. What are the yellow things halfway up on the vehicle? That is part of the kind of strong back system that it has. So Ariane 6 actually rolls out to the pad on that strong back, just like a Falcon 9 or other vehicles, and those are just the kind of support arms to it. So those would be retracted during flight as well. T-minus 5 minutes, listening into mission control.
I have had confirmation that the Ariane 6 synchronized sequence had just begun. The launcher itself is now leading the show. It will take decisions for ignition, engine control, and safety. Remember, at 13 seconds before H0, control is handed from the ground system to the onboard computer. From that moment on, we cannot pause the countdown clock and make a new attempt today. From here, things go fast, very fast. This will be the 13-second point of no return, and the engine will then be ignited. Here we see the Jupiter control room at Europe Spaceport in French Guiana. Note all green lights on the left. These show the status is good and the countdown can proceed, what we like to see. The countdown you can see top right is not a simple kitchen timer. It reflects the time left on the schedule until liftoff on a normal launch. The Vulcan 2.1 ignites 6.8 seconds before H0, but the countdown can be stopped automatically when parameters are out of bounds or at the launch pad director's discretion. Unlike real time, this clock can be stopped, paused, and or even put back. The countdown gives personnel a quick glance at where they are in the process.
À tous EDDO, Arrêt de la séquence synchro.
Here is the Jupiter control room again, where management sits, and the DDO, the Director of Operation, who says the iconic Allumage Vulcain. We hope to hear soon. The Jupiter 2 room is the Europe Spaceport main control center and used for Vega and Ariane launches.
So we are holding 2 minutes, 42 seconds on the clock.
So we just have the clock has stopped. I'm looking for more information to broadcast. The countdown of the hot fire test has been paused, 2 minutes 42 seconds. For those of you who are just joining us, we are broadcasting live from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana, where the Ariane 6 long-duration hot firing test is about to take place. This has been a delay. We are looking for more information for you.
And if you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view of ELA 4 in the French Guiana, where ESA and Ariane Group were preparing to test fire the core stage of Ariane 6. T minus 2 minutes 42 seconds and holding. We are in a hold. This is not a cancellation of today's test. We are in a hold at a point they could resume. We're waiting for updates from Mission Control on possibly the reason of the hold and if they will be able to go for another attempt here today. This is a test of the core stage.
Those of you who are just joining us or waiting, we are broadcasting live from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana, where the Ariane 6 long duration hot firing test is about to take place. There has been a delay. We don't know still. We are waiting for information. During the Ariane 6 synchronized sequence, any technical anomaly encountered on the launcher or launch pad will stop the countdown. We have the countdown stop. We are looking for more information. To communicate, don't leave. We are coming back soon.
So, no real new information. They're evaluating the issues and seeing what is underway. 2 minutes, 42 seconds, and holding on the clock. Joe Dog, is the assembly building that close, or is it an optical illusion? If they cut over to one of the side views, it's pretty close. The thing is, they have a really good flame trench, as you can see from this view, out to both sides. So nothing really goes around the rocket in that direction. It all gets shot out to the side, so that's why the buildings are able to be a bit closer than we see in some of the other places. It is fairly close, though. Thanks for sending that in. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We also want to hear from you in the poll. What do you think about the look of Ariane 6? A couple people said it was really ugly. Some other people think it's really nice. So let us know. Is it the most beautiful rocket ever? Is it good looking? Is it okay? Or do you think it's ugly? 333 votes right now. Good looking's winning. 43%. It's okay. 35%. 5% of you do think it's ugly, though. So let us know why. Let's see here. Okay, man, who gets an anomaly during a hot fire test? Well, that's when you want to have them. You want to have the anomaly during this, so when you go into an actual launch countdown with a payload on board, or multiple payloads on board, you don't have an issue. Noah, why is the countdown stopped, and what's the reason for the hold? They have not told us yet, and we have not seen inside the launch control room again.
Now the launcher system is placed in safe waiting configuration. We are currently awaiting the announcement of a new test time. Please stand by.
Well, that's good news that he said an announcement of a new test time. I'll take that as a win.
As the technical issue is solved and the launch system is ready to restart the chronology again, the operation manager defines a new H0 and the sequence is restarted.
So they are still evaluating, hoping to have another test here this afternoon or this evening, depending where you're joining us from. Joe Dog, well, that could be bad. True, you don't want to have a pad rud, but you would still rather have a pad rud happen now than you would with payload on board, right? This is a testing window. It's still in manufacturing and production. Just like Starship, you want to see it fail now so it doesn't fail later. Yeah, Johnny, ready to restart does sound good. Sounds like the vehicle might be in good conditions. Wondering if it's something else. It could be a thing with a computer. It could be something with the range. Numerous things. Very rarely do we have a range issue down at French Guiana, though, because it is incredibly out in the middle of nowhere. EIS? Sorry if I said that wrong. It looks more like an aerodynamic Soyuz. It does, actually. There's a helicopter flying by in the background. Rob Harris, it was a test and it failed. It hasn't failed yet because we haven't not done the test yet. We've delayed the test. It's as if you pulled a fire alarm before you had to write an exam. You didn't get to write the exam, so you didn't fail yet. This is a hold. This is part of rocketry. Holds are normal in rockets, so we'll wait to hear an update. We'll want to know why.
We are currently awaiting the announcement of a new time. We do not have this information, so please now follow ESA social media or channel for updates.
Well, that sounds like they're not going to go. So I don't know what that means. We'll wait and see if we get more info. But that sounds to me like they're ending it for the day. I'm going through this with all of y'all, figuring out what information we have. We appreciate you being here. If you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view of ELA 4, the launch site in French Guiana, where ESA and Ariane Group are preparing to test fire the core stage for a full-length duration burn. We got down to 2 minutes 42 seconds on the clock and ended up having a hold called. Unsure why that hold was called. They're saying stay tuned to social media. So we've got social media spooled up. We're waiting to have more information. This is going to be an 8-minute core stage burn. Very similar to what we see with SLS. I hope they'll show us back inside the fishbowl at some point. That would be helpful. Oh! Hey, they might be listening to us. Okay, so you can see green across the board. That's a really good sign. The clocks are counting, continuing to count. That H01 is continuing to count. So we are not at a point where they've locked in a new T0 at this time. But we're seeing green all across the board. So that is a good sign for today to possibly have another attempt here. I don't know why he said go on social media, but right now like that countdown board looks green to me. So if you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat. We'll keep working on answering those. Still holding 2 minutes 42 seconds on the clock.
The countdown of the hot fire test has been paused, as you can see, at 2 minutes 42 seconds. For those who are just joining us, we are broadcasting live from Europe Spaceport in French Guiana, where Ariane 6 long duration hot firing test is about to take place. During the Ariane 6 synchronized sequence, any technical anomaly encountered on the launcher or on the launch pad or the launch range will appear and stopped the synchronized sequence. As soon as the technical issue is solved and the launch system is ready to restart the chronology again, the operation managers will define the new H0.
So he was just saying there, and we do have an official statement from the ESA Transport X account. We are paused at 2 minutes 42 seconds before engine ignition. Ariane 6 is in a safe waiting mode. The Ariane 6 launcher itself has taken control as planned in the countdown, and its software decisions for ignition, engine control, and safety, we are waiting for a new time for ignition. So a good point there that they are going to continue working for a new T0 here. I hope they'll keep this view on actually for us inside mission control. You're going to want to watch that time on the bottom left, that H0 time. That is the event 1 time, basically. That's T0. So if that were to release, that's the 2 minutes 42 seconds from now. So if we see that H0 clock stop counting, that means we are counting towards that time. So we'll wait and see if we get any more updates from them as we continue through this. Oh, 6 minutes 30 seconds. The clock has been reset. We'll wait to hear any updates. We'll see if we get a count resuming, but the clock has been wound back to 6 minutes 30 seconds and holding. This is a really good sign that they are going for another attempt. Normally, you'll set that time and... okay, well, put that overlay on the screen. Normally, you would say, let's roll it back to 6 minutes, 30 seconds, and you'd do that like 7 minutes before that time, so that you can then count into and mark and hit that time exactly. So, Really good sign that we have a clock reset. And Ruben says, why is there trajectory on the screen? I raised that earlier. I think it's because this is supposed to be a simulated full test, so they are testing all their systems even as if they were going to launch. So they want to make sure their trajectory maps and stuff are up. Obviously, they are not launching here today, but if for some reason they would. Ginger, could the tech issue be between the rocket and the control room? Possibly. There's lots of places you could have a tech issue, depending on what type of tech issue it is. And it's a new rocket. We've never had a full stacked Ariane 6 out at the pad like this before for this type of test. So, there's things that they are figuring out for the first time, and we'll hopefully see that countdown clock resume here shortly. We are now 6 minutes 30 seconds and holding. We had held at 2 minutes 47 or 42 seconds. So they are pointing that they are going to go for another attempt here today. There's that helicopter flying by again. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, and subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. Make sure you're subscribed to both of our channels, the Launchpad and the Launchpad News. We're getting ready to spool up our Launchpad News coverage next week, so we're excited to bringing you more news updates. And as we roll into the new year, a new weekly space news show and things like that, so make sure you stay tuned for all of those. On top of our normal live launch coverage here on our main channel. 6 minutes, 30 seconds, and holding still, waiting for more updates. I have the mission control feed up, so the moment he starts talking, we will hear it together at the same time. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. We'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability. Maybe the helicopter is the problem. That wouldn't be a technical issue. That would be a range violation. And that's very likely that that's their own helicopter trying to get some aerial footage of the test. Could also be security. Number of things it could be. But it is normal to see helicopters and stuff flying around ranges for these type of events. We see it at the Space Coast all the time. You're just joining us. You're looking at a live view of ELA 4 in the French Guiana, where ESA and Ariane Group are preparing to hot fire test the core stage of an Ariane 6. We did have a hold called, 2 minutes 42 seconds on the clock. They have reset the clock to 6 minutes 30 seconds, and we've yet to have an update since then, but they have continued to point to they are going to continue to try. Everything was green on the board the last time we saw inside the fishbowl. So we are hoping that that is another good sign that we will have a attempt here today. If you guys have questions, it's a good time to send those in the chat. Tag us at the launch pad. Shilani is saying, is TLP planning on uploading the weekly news updates on YouTube, making a podcast, or a different form of content altogether? Ooh, all of the above. So we're going to do, on the Launchpad News channel, our second channel, we will do like short news stories that'll go along with our articles on the website. Not every article will get a video, but a lot of the big ones will. So they'll be short, 3 to 5 minutes, giving you all the details. Then we're working on doing like a weekly news recap. That'll be a video. And then our thought is we'll do some sort of live show where it'll be like a Q&A of the news. We're not sure how we're going to want to do that just yet, if it's going to be like every 2 weeks or if it's going to be once a month. We talk about like this month in space flight and then do kind of a recap of the whole month and answer your questions there. But that's all going to be news related. And then we're talking about doing also like a monthly recap or every week or two doing a live Q&A kind of hangout here on the main channel as well. So bringing some more interactive live content, answering your guys' questions, things you can plan around. So we are figuring that out. We're going to put out some polls in the near future in the community sections on both channels to find out when would work best for everyone. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And obviously you can watch those on replay if you're not able to watch them live. That's exciting. So much ramping up for you guys. Excited to see. Yeah, we're super excited to do it. It'll help bring a little more schedule to the content that you guys can expect, even if we don't have, a launch for the week. There's still a lot of space news happening. So, yeah. We will not be available on Netflix yet. Maybe one day. We'll have to see. Luke Strawwalker, this is a hot fire test, not a launch. So just a hot fire test. But it's a full hot fire test. 8 minutes on the pad. House of Dragons, I'm new to this. What's a hot fire test? So it's like a static fire. They will ignite the main engine of the first stage, or they call this one the core stage, and it will burn equally for how long it would do as if it was launching. So it's just to prove that the core stage can actually do it. So that's what we're waiting to see here today. 6 minutes, 30 seconds, and holding. That clock rewound about 7-8 minutes ago, so I'm hoping that we'll have an update here in the near future, or that they'll just kill it and go for it tomorrow. But we'll wait for an update. Paul, when are you going to finish the Lego build? I reached out to Jiho and asked about that. So hopefully in the near future, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to finish that. Yes, the fairing is empty. Hey, Fairground from Cornwall, England. Good to see you. Random roulette. Really great question. How much does the increasing presence of satellites affect launch window times? That is a fantastic question. Thank you for sending that in. It all depends on where you're launching to. So when we were launching Artemis 1, when NASA was launching Artemis 1 to the moon, we did get a targeted T0. We had a launch window, and then we had that launch calendar that was like, here's the days that we can launch. Here's short windows. Here's long windows. These days would be long. If we launch on this day, it'd be a long mission. If they launch this day, it'd be a shorter mission. Things like that, right? But what we didn't get released, but NASA did confirm, is on every single day that there was a launch window, a possibility, there was hundreds of seconds that they could not launch. So, for an example, they could have launched at let's just use easy numbers. They could launch at 2 a.m. and 0 seconds. But they couldn't launch at 2 a.m. and 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. They could at 5 and 6, but they couldn't at 7, 8, and they could at 9, 10, 11. So it was literally to the second that they knew when they could launch, and that's because of orbital satellites and things that they knew they had to fly through. And obviously when you're launching, you're not going straight up, you're also going sideways. So you have to think about, you are picking up speed while you fly, and you have to maneuver yourself through all these layers of satellites. Now, yes, there's a lot of stuff up there. There is a ton more space than there isn't. There's a lot of stuff in space, but there's also not a lot. The biggest thing now you're navigating around is Starlinks. And those are going to continue to expand, and then we're going to have the Kuiper constellation and a few other constellations. We got OneWeb up there now. So it is getting busier, and it is limiting, but it's not restrictive yet. But it is something that they do have to monitor, especially when we're talking about leaving Earth. When we're going into low Earth orbit, like Starlinks get deployed at one altitude and then they actually get raised into their final altitude. So you're not launching them to where they actually are going to park. So it's a little bit easier. Thanks, Denise. I'm glad you liked the Q&A when we were building the rover. Yeah, we got to do a part 2 to finish that. Catching up on the chat here. Funny thing about a rocket is the rocket stays in place and the building... That would, I mean, depends on the pad, but some pads do that. Some pads do have the building roll away rather than the rocket rolling away. We hope we never see that 10 minutes. You're just joining us, though. Welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view of ELA-4, the French Guiana. We're still holding 6 minutes 30 seconds. We had a hold called 2 minutes 42 seconds before engine ignition. The computers have taken over Ariane 6, and the computers are waiting for mission control to program a new T0. Last time we saw in the fishbowl, we did have a green board across the board, so we are waiting to have an idea what is kind of happening. Really great question coming in the chat from OK Man. Will there be regulation to limit satellites in LEO after so many companies will flood with thousands of satellites? So you can't just launch something per se into orbit. You do have to track it. You do have to file like your orbital plan to make sure that it's not interfering with other frequencies and orbits and things like that. So it is pretty regulated at this time. But yeah, the more we see these bigger constellations, the more limiting it'll be for future constellations. SpaceX says they want to get, well, not SpaceX, Starlink, which is owned by SpaceX, says that they want to get up to 45,000 satellites. And I want to say we're not even at 10,000 satellites have been launched in history, type of thing. So it is something to keep in mind. We are talking about a whole new scale of launches and actual payloads in space. The neat thing with Starlinks is and it is now law in many nations. But Starlink from day one would be able to, if that satellite became no longer usable, it would deorbit itself. It might not bring it all the way down, but it would lower its orbit that it would come down within, so many days, so that it doesn't leave, hundreds and then thousands of these satellites that expire. Also, all of these Starlinks will have to be replaced by V2s, and then eventually the V2s will have to be replaced eventually by who knows what, because these satellites are smaller. The V1s we know cost about $250,000 each. So it was a big deal when they were launching, 60 of them at a time, not including the rocket cost. You were talking about a lot of money, just with 60 $250,000 satellites. But it is something that those will eventually retire and deorbit, and they need to be replaced. So we haven't really heard plans on what that'll be like yet, but eventually I'm sure there'll be a V3 and things like that, as Starlink will maintain their constellation to maintain service, because it really is connecting our world for the first time. And Luke Strawwalker, yeah, space doesn't convect heat, nor does it conduct it. So when the sun is shining on something, it's 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it's in the shadow, it's minus 200 Fahrenheit. It's very true. So then having these metal structures up there, they go through a lot of dynamic shift, and they do so every 45 minutes. Ben Bradley was just a few years ago. Starlink announced when it was going to put thousands of satellites in LEO. It seemed unbelievable, but yeah, here we are at over 5,000. It's true, and with 45,000 is a lot more than 5,000, and we need Starship to work for them to be able to do so. But I don't question it anymore. It will happen. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, then thanks for doing that math there. 10 minutes. Yeah, it was $15 million of Starlink payload every launch with the first version when they could fit 60. Now they can't fit 60. The V2 minis, they can only put 22 or 23 on board, and then we don't know how many will fit on Starship just yet, because it'll stack them in two full stacks. And they are much bigger than Falcon 9 and what Falcon 9 carries with the V2 minis and the V1s. V2s are absolutely massive little dishes, and that's what's going to help equip Starlink to bring those higher speeds, lower latency, and things like that in the future. We use Starlink for TLP when we go down to Starbase, and we've used it out at the Space Coast as well. And it is, at times, the only service we had. So it is already incredible. We were lucky enough to... We didn't get a version 1 dish, the round one. We did get one of the first square ones, though. And we were before the first 100,000 units were out. So it's neat to get to be, early in the adoption of Starlink before millions and tens of millions of people transition. And then they're also now doing so much more with Starlink. Boats, airplanes, cruise ships, semis, even your car now can have it. While you're driving your car, you can have Starlink if you get the certain dishes. So Starlink is going to be the idea of universal internet, constantly accessible. That's the idea of Starlink, and it's going to be pretty incredible. If you're just joining us, we continue to hold. It's 6 minutes and 30 seconds. It's getting gloomy now down on the launch site. I'm wondering if there's some weather moving in. We have not had any update in 20... It's been 23 minutes since our last update. This was only supposed to be a 30-minute broadcast, and here we are now over an hour. This is honestly when we thought we were going to be starting our broadcast initially. Good old time zones. Johnny, the idea of Starlink is to finance Starship to go to Mars. Interesting idea. Starlink is a big thing to help fund SpaceX, that's for sure. It is great when you can be your own customer. 10 minutes. Could weather be a problem for the test? If there was lightning, yes. Obviously, you see the lightning towers around the pad. And it depends on what the rain conditions are. I mean, they want good conditions for a hot fire. So they want conditions that are equal to what they would launch in. If it's not conditions they would launch in, then they wouldn't conduct the test, because that's what this is supposed to be, is a simulated launch. And Rally makes a really great point with Starlink. I looked at getting Starlink for my home, which has bad internet. It was good. It was a bit more expensive than getting a fiber optic cable connection, and it is. Our TLP Canada studio is fiber optics. I do not see a future at this point for a very long time that we would ever switch exclusively to Starlink. We would use Starlink as a backup. Let's say like we had a power outage, we could run the Starlink in our computer and our internet off at that point off a generator, so we could continue to do like a live broadcast. If it was an important enough launch, Artemis or something. But we have fiber, so I get a gig up and a gig down. Well, I get a gig and a half up and down. So it's not something that at this point would make sense. But for rural communities, it's huge. And actually, SpaceX Starlink, partnered with the government of Alberta, which is the province that our TLP Canada studios in, to actually offer a rebate for rural communities to get Starlink. I saw that just a couple of weeks ago. Steve J, where's TLP? Our Canada studio is in Edmonton. And then we have a portable studio that we can take anywhere with us, kind of around the world. And we're building another portable studio as well. So we'll have two studios. Yeah, exactly. Starlink's more expensive up front, and it depends what type of service you are getting for if you need the house service or you want portable things like that. So our Starlinks are portable, so I can take them anywhere in the world. Also depends if you want priority or not. The nice thing with Starlink is it gives you options, right? So you don't have to pay for fiber if you don't want fiber. Starlink will offer different levels of service as it continues to expand, and that's, I think, one of the great benefits of it. But we'll see. Johnny, why is ESA not giving us an update? Really fantastic question. It's getting darker and darker on screen, so I kind of am having a feeling we might not see this happen today, but we will see. It's been 26 minutes since the last update. Hopefully we'll hear something. I've got the live audio still turned on, so there is no sound coming through the clean feed here. So we cannot. There's literally nothing being said. There's no sounds, no crickets, no pin drops. So we'll wait and see. We will stay here until we have a confirmation of they're not going for it, or until they end the stream. One of the two. Hopefully they haven't decided not to do it and someone didn't tell the host to tell us. But we'll see. Pedro, I pay almost €60 a month and only get... And that's going to get you similar on Starlink. Starlink's only up to about 200 right now. If you're really lucky, sometimes you can get a little faster. But that's also because Starlink's really just only now getting started, right? We don't have 45,000 satellites in orbit yet. So once they do so, and they get it up to those faster speeds, then we'll have to wait and see what happens. Yes, David. Hopefully soon, as Ariane 5 already retired. Yeah, we need Ariane 6 to work. Well, while we wait, it's a good time, though. If you haven't yet, head on over to the TLP shop. Do some looking around. We're going to drop a few more items later today, as well as our Black Friday sale. So it's a great time to maybe, if you're a fan of a certain YouTube channel, moo shrew around the shop and check out some of the items that you might want to pick up during our Black Friday sale tomorrow. If someone can tell me what channel says that, you get a bonus point. I don't know what the points do, but you get a bonus point. I'll actually accept 2 channel names that you could say that would be acceptable as an answer. And if you know who it is, you know a channel that I watch on my off hours. How many Star Leagues will Starship hold? We don't have a number for that just yet, Jason. It is something that we don't have an exact number because they haven't finished designing Starship. So I don't even think they have an exact number. We're continuing to hold. T-minus 6 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh, the clock is running. The clock is counting. 6 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting. We'll wait for an update, but that is a really good sign. See, we just had to sit here and wait. Patience. T-minus 6 minutes and counting.
We are back with our live coverage of the Ariane 6 hot fire tests. I am Tony Dos Santos. He's a technical manager for Europe Spaceport here in Kourou, in French Guiana. We had an anomaly during the previous attempt, which caused the chronology to stop just before H-2 minutes. From this moment, the Ariane 6 test model was placed in safe waiting configuration. This was a light anomaly concerning transient threshold pressure, which was slightly
top à 0-5 minutes.
We have now restarted the synchronized sequence. So this was a light anomaly concerning transient threshold pressure, which was slightly different from our prediction, but it was not blocking for today's test. The team has just performed the correction and the synchronized sequence has been resumed.
I did want to make a quick note. 4 minutes, 35 seconds and counting. We just saw their audio is out of sync. So their rocket is synced with mission control and the computers, but their audio is out of sync for the video. So fair warning, we might hear just a second or two earlier than what we're seeing. T-minus 4 minutes, 20 seconds and counting till ignition. Take a moment, share the stream, invite people back. We're getting ready to watch the core stage of Ariane 6 ignite and conduct a core stage hot fire full duration test. T-minus 4 minutes, 6 seconds and counting, listening in to mission control.
The main engine ignition. This is slightly different from Ariane 5 launch. It is used to be the time when the main engine was ignited, but the liftoff was a little later. We will not see a launch today, as the boosters will be not ignited, only the core stage engine. Once ignite, it burned through 150 tons of supercooled propellant in just 8 minutes, heating up to 3000 degrees Celsius, other than outer layers of supergiant stars. Today's countdown started yesterday already. We are now 3 minutes away, but teams have been working 10-hour shifts loading the Ariane 6 stage with propellant. The loading was slowly to avoid any thermal shocks in the tanks, fuel lines and pumps. We use liquid oxygen that is super cooled to minus 183 degrees Celsius and liquid hydrogen to minus 253 degrees Celsius, so just 20 degrees from the absolute zero, the coldest temperature possible in the universe. At these temperatures, the liquids are very unstable and want to evaporate in the tropical heat of the Europe spaceport. If you just join us, we are about 2 minutes now away from the ignition of the Vulcan 2.1 engine, the main engine of the Ariane 6 rocket, Europe's next launcher. Today is a test that will qualify the full core stage and the launch pad, the last major full rehearsal needed before launch. Now we wait for the director of the operation to announce the final minute before H0. A reminder that ignition will occur 7 seconds before H0. I will then stop talking from now. Enjoy the test.
And here we go. T-minus 80 seconds and counting.
Attention pour moins d'une minute. Top à 0 moins 1 minute.
Now we are seeing the timeline is out of sync here. Ignition will be 7 seconds before T0. And what looks like we're running about a 7-second video delay to audio. So keep that in mind that we should see, when our clock in the top right says 14 seconds is likely when we will see ignition. And we will likely get sound 7 seconds after that. T-minus 40 seconds on the official clock. You're watching a live view of ELA-4 at the French Guiana, where ESA and Ariane Group are preparing to hot fire test the core stage of Ariane 6 for the first time for a full duration test.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Allumage Vulcain.
Get ready for the gimbal test. The nozzle is now tilting to test its movement. During a launch, this will compensate for any aerodynamic forces pushing Ariane 6 off course. Small changes made automatically by the rocket's avionics will keep Ariane 6 on course. The Vulcain 2 engine is at maximum temperature, 3000 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, gold will turn into a gas. So we cannot use gold and many other metal in the engine.
You're just joining us. You're looking at a live view from French Guiana, where ESA is conducting a hot fire test of the core stage of their next generation Ariane 6 launch vehicle. We are now 1 minute, about 20 seconds, 30 seconds into the test. There is a slight delay on the video.
33.
Some incredible views, now over a minute and a half into the test. This test is expected to last 8 minutes, which is the full duration that the core stage would have to burn during flight.
2 minutes. If this were a real launch and not a test, we expected booster separation around this point when the rocket reached an altitude of about 70 kilometers. As you can see, for this full-scale core stage, Ariane 6 is staying on Earth as planned. Without the boosters, the Vulcain 2.1 engine provides full thrust, but the nozzle also controls its ascent by moving on a gimbal. Around 3 minutes into the engine firing, If this was a normal launch, Ariane 6 will be at 100 kilometers above Earth now, well on its way into space. The fairing protecting the satellites inside at the top of the launcher will be not useful and now separate fall away. If you are just joining us, we are broadcasting live from Europe Spaceport in Kourou in French Guiana. We are enjoying live views of the Ariane 6 Vulcain 2.1 engine test. We are currently at plus 3 minutes 48 seconds into this hot fire test. During this test, we rehearse to understand this complex system, gain experience, and test what is all working as everything is working as it should, of course. Today is the major test. It's also the most visible, with the 8-minute firing of the main engine, which is why we are showing it. For this test, we are not using the launchpad water deluge system that spray an incredible amount of water at high pressure under the rocket. The water is not to put out fire, but to suppress the sound and vibration caused by the boosters. As the boosters are not being tested today, the water deluge system is not needed. We do need to cool the Vulcain 2.1 down during these 8 minutes of this test. Vulcain 2.1 has its own cooling system. For this test, it stays close to the ground. We need to stop the engine from overheating. In a normal launch, the launch pad will only be subjected to 3,000 degrees for a few seconds before takeoff. But during this test, it's for 8 minutes. Therefore, we have adapted the water deluge system to provide constant cooling. A system has been installed specifically for this test to cool the flame deflector and the flame trench from the heat. We also installed carbon fiber panels on the flame deflector for the same reason. For the rejoiner, we are broadcasting live from Europe Spaceport on the edge of the Amazon rainforest here in French Guiana, where an Ariane 6 rocket model is undergoing its last major rehearsal needed before its inaugural flight. The launcher's Vulcain 2.1 engine was ignited about 6 minutes 37 seconds ago and is still burning.
Tir avorté en cours. Fin de la chronologie CTHF. Succès de ce premier allumage Vulcain.
You're looking at a live view of ELA-4, the French Guiana, where ESA and Ariane Group just completed a test.
The Ariane 6 core stage has depleted itself from fuel, and the engine firing of today's test is finished. If it was a launch, Ariane 6 will be in orbit, and the core stage will separate from the upper stage, the orbital stage. I'm so happy to see this moment and share it with you. Now, the teams on the ground will start disarming the launch zone by pumping out the fuel of the upper stage tanks that wasn't fired today. Today's test, of course. We now have many days of analysis in front of us. More than 800 sensors around Ariane 6 have been recording non-stop. We will be comparing the data received in this test to what we expected to happen and see if there is any difference. It generally takes 2 weeks to analyze all the precious data we get. From here, we learn, we gain experience, and we are getting prepared for Europe's newest, mightiest, heavy-lift rockets. Thank you for watching this moment.
And if you're just joining us, ESA and Ariane Group have successfully hot fire tested the core stage of Ariane 6 for the first time for a full duration test at the launch site in French Guiana. That's 10 minutes now since ignition, the test running 8 minutes, and that's going to do it for us live here today. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, or return to Earth, or live test coverage. We are watching through all the tests of RS-25 as it also goes through its final certification before production testing. We've got 10 more of those coming up in the near future. But that's going to do it for us here today from our TLP Canada studio. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time because space is better together, and happy Thanksgiving to all of our American viewers. We'll see you next time.